All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I am Dale with Realvolve, and today we're talking about four critical strategies that will put every agent, broker, or team leader in position to bounce back, as Verl has been saying. So I'm just going to give everybody another minute to join, and want to make sure that everybody gets oriented. If you have not ever joined a Zoom webinar before, orient yourself. Go to that Q&A section there and just type in hello so that we know you are here and that you can hear us, that our video and our audio is coming in loud and clear. So I'm really excited for today's presentation, and joining me today is Verl Workman, CEO and founder of Workman Success Systems. Verl has been around the real estate industry for a long time. He has a great passion for what we are all doing here as real estate agents, team leaders, brokers, and others around the industry. And Verl and his team of coaches has made it their mission for the past month and continuing onward to really serve the industry as much as they possibly can, to help educate us, to make sure that we understand how to approach things and that we are well equipped to bounce out of this COVID-19 crisis that we all find ourselves in. And so Verl and I have had the opportunity to work pretty closely together for the last couple of years now. And you know, I have grown to respect Verl. Every time I see him and interact with him and his team, I just get a deeper respect for what they do and how they approach life and how they deal with people. And they have an amazing organization that really relies on what they call the wisdom of the crowd to pull all this stuff up. So what you're about to hear is not things that Verl just made up on the spot. Verl and his team share tried and true strategies that are proven to work around the world, and they focus on refining and improving everything that they do consistently, so they have this always in beta mentality. And so Verl, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate having you here.
Dale, I appreciate it, and I'm excited to spend a little bit of time with you and just kind of talk about how we're messaging to the market today. You know, everybody has an opportunity to see and respond to what's going on their own way. And what I've learned is that, you know, depending on whether you're watching Fox News or you're watching CNN or MSNBC or ABC, everybody kind of has this different approach to how they're reporting and what's going on with this crazy pandemic. And I believe that the truth is somewhere in the middle, and that it's not the end of the world like some people are saying, and it certainly is serious, and we need to take it serious and keep our clients safe. But in every market, including some of the hardest hit markets in Westchester, New York, where, you know, it's the epicenter, we're still listing and selling and closing real estate transactions. And so the one thing I've learned, Dale, and I'm sure you realize this, is that we can't control life events. Life events are going to continue to happen, whether there's a pandemic or not a pandemic, that requires people to move. And I believe it's our job as realtors to put ourselves in a position to create a safe environment for them to transact when those life events happen. And while there may be fewer transactions that are happening today than there were a year ago at this time, I think that we're in a place where we're going to see a significant bounce back when this thing starts to slow down. Our economy won't allow itself to be shut down forever, and so there's going to be this incredible transition that happens. I know a lot of people are talking about pivoting and, you know, shifting and moving the way they do things. And you mentioned the bounce, and that's kind of where I am on this whole thing, is that I think that when you pivot or you shift, they're lateral movements. They're staying in the same place, but moving the way you do it. And I think it requires some of that. You have to have some pivoting and some shifting, but really what we want to do is we want to put our businesses in a position to be at the top of the curve of the bounce when it happens. And so when that happens, you need to be on the top or the bottom, and I've learned not to be on the bottom of a bounce because those bugs get squashed. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is how do we do that? How do we message to that market? What are the strategies that agents and brokers can be doing? And then I promise that I'm going to give you some things. There's a slide right here. Just stay until the end. I'm going to give you a landing page, and I'm going to give you a bunch of things, including our 30-day COVID-19 strategy plan, some really cool charts and graphs, some dialogues and scripts that we're using to help people be more effective in this changing market. So, Del, I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate the partnership we have with Realvolve. One of the things that I'm going to talk about today is how critical it is we have a high level of execution on the basic fundamentals that most people don't do, and everybody knows they should. And Realvolve has the technology and the system that allows us to execute the basic fundamentals at a much higher level. So I love Realvolve, and I love the relationship and the partnership that we have. So let's just get into it. Should we just get into it?
Let's get into it.
All right, so let's get into it. By the way, I'm monitoring your questions. If you have a question for myself or for Dale as we talk about this, I encourage you to use the Q&A box. Ask your questions. I'll see them come up on my screen, and I'll do my best to answer them. The other thing is my commitment to all of you today is that I believe that we're at a time in the world where we should be in the mode of serving, not selling. And so everything that I share with you today, whether it's a training program or a system, if I show it and demonstrate it, I will give it to you. And so I'm going to share with you some things that we normally sell that just for being on this webinar today, being a friend of Workman and Realvolve, I'm just going to give you some stuff. So is everybody, I hope you're okay with that. I hope you're okay with selling instead of serving. I think that today is the time where we need to be thinking about, how do we make a difference in people's lives, not how do we sell them something. And so I promise you that I'm going to share some things that will be valuable to all of you. Okay, so let's get into it. So when I talk about the 4 critical strategies, and are you guys hearing me okay? I hope everybody's hearing me okay. My sound should be clear.
I can hear you just fine. I did see one person said that your audio is muffled, but I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, great. So the first thing I want to talk about is having a high level of execution on the basic fundamentals that everybody knows they should do, but most don't. And so what are those basic fundamentals? Let me give you a few of them. One of the first ones is the way that we follow up with leads. I think it's critical that all of your leads go inside of your CRM or your lead tracker on first contact. So when a lead comes in, we have to put them in our system on first contact. If you don't put the leads in on first contact, then they end up on yellow sticky notes or on notepads, and they don't get followed up with. When you start to track the leads the right way, what happens is your conversion goes up simply because you're looking at them every day and you're thinking about them. When you look at them and think about them, you just think differently about it. The second thing is that we need to have a system at how we approach and follow up with leads. I've learned that anything that you do in your business, and I mean this genuinely, that anything you do in your business 3 times, you need to have a system for it. I feel a sneeze coming on. It's not a COVID sneeze though. Okay, if I could look at the sun, I could sneeze. I know what would happen. All right, so the system that we use for following up with leads is really simple. We call it the ABCs of lead management. And so an A lead is somebody you have an appointment with. Today we call it a virtual appointment. So if one of the things I'm noticing is, like for example, if you're using FirePoint or one of our high volume lead generation systems, you're seeing an uptick in the number of people getting online looking at property. And so all of our systems have these massive lead generation that's happening right now. Even though people may not be ready to pull a trigger, our goal is to get an appointment with them. And if you call and you're serving, not selling, you're going to find that people will talk to you. So if you say, hey, I know you're on the site looking at properties, I just want to see what your timing is and see if there's anything I can do to help your family at this time, people are going to respond to you. And so the goal is to get a virtual appointment, a Zoom call just like this. And so we get on a Zoom call, we show them the MLS, what's going on in the marketplace, maybe share some of the charts and graphs that I'm going to share with you today of what's happening in the marketplace and how you can put their mind at ease of what we expect to happen based on history. But an A lead is somebody you have an appointment with. And so once you follow up with that lead and you schedule your online appointment, the A lead is someone you have an appointment with. And so I encourage you to set the appointment. Whenever you have a meeting or interaction with someone, so if I were talking to Dale today, my goal would be to finish the conversation and then schedule the next appointment. I wouldn't say, well, Dale, let's touch bases in 30 days and see what's going on. That's not an appointment. That becomes a B lead instantly. And so if I don't have a scheduled appointment, they're not an A lead. So it's someone who's ready to transact in the next 30 days, and you have an appointment with them. So an A lead has an appointment. I want to make it really clear to everybody that when you identify an A lead as someone you have an appointment with, it makes you think about setting the next appointment. So when you go out and show properties on a Saturday, or you're doing virtual showings today and they don't find the house they want to make an offer on, you schedule the appointment for Tuesday, and you don't say, I'll call you sometime Tuesday. You say, do you want to talk in the morning or afternoon? Do you want to do 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock? They say 3 o'clock, you schedule it. So I want everyone to focus on setting appointments. Your days will be much more fulfilled if you fill them with appointments. The second thing is understanding what a B lead is. A B lead is someone who's not ready to buy or sell for 30 to 90 days. It could be they're waiting for the pandemic to end. It could be that they're just not ready financially. It could be they need to get their house in order. Whatever that reason is, if they're not ready to go for 30 to 90 days, we're going to put them in Realvolve, and we're going to call them twice a month. And we're going to call them during the weeks that the 1st falls in and the 15th falls in. So Dell, when I tag somebody as a B lead in Realvolve, can it automatically set it up so I call them on the weeks of the 1st and the 15th?
You can. Yeah, and
Yeah,
you can.
absolutely.
Yep. And you can adjust your A, B's, and C's in Realvolve to match this exactly. So the default is not identical to this; it's similar to this, but you can, in your settings, change it so that it lines up exactly with this.
Yep. Which is really cool, the flexibility of the program. So, and then a C lead is someone who's not ready to go for 90 or more days. They could be year, 2 year out. We're going to put them in Realvolve. We're going to put them on a C lead plan, and we're going to call them once a month during the week that the 8th is in. And so the weeks of the 1st and the 15th are going to be our B lead. The week of the 8th is going to be our C leads. And then the week of the 22nd, we're going to work on our sphere, or what I like to call our top 50. And so our top 50 group, and I'm going to give you a download to this, which is our, it's a group that I want you to create inside of Realvolve, and you create a specific group and you tag them as a specific lead type. And the lead type is your top 50. And these are the 50 people that are most likely to give you 1 referral a year. Now, I want you to think about that. It could be your mother, it could be your cousin, people from your sorority or frat group, it could be people in your church, kids that parents that your kids play soccer or sports with. It's the 50 people that are most likely to give you 1 referral a year. And I give you a very specific series of touches that I want you to have with that top 50. You put them in Realvolve, you create your smart workflow, and then you launch the top 50 plan. But included in that plan is 1 personal touch every single month with your top 50. So you're going to get 1 personal touch with your top 50. So right now is a time we should be using our top 50 and calling and saying, how's your family? Tell me what's happening with your work situation. Have empathy and listen. What do you guys have planned this summer? I always like to think and focus on positive things that are going to be happening. And then, what are we going to do when this is all over? What's the big celebration you guys are going to have? And I'm sure everybody has that. So we do family, occupation, recreation, dreams. I'm going to give you a copy of this ebook as well as the Ford dialogue script. Now, the next thing I want you to do is I want you to make sure that when you're following up with your A's, your B's, or your C's, and you're working your top 50, that you have good scripts and dialogue for that. So, for example, when I'm calling a buyer prospect today, I'm not calling and trying to talk them into buying a house. When I'm calling a seller, I'm not calling them up and saying, Dale, I really think you guys need to move today. Today's a great time to sell. A lot of people have fear and trepidation, and it's not our job to tell people how they should feel. It's our job to provide them with really good information so they can make intelligent decisions for their family and respect their wishes. For those that are ready to go, we want to provide a safe environment for them to move forward. For those that aren't ready to go, we want to provide them with all the data they need until they are ready to go. So here's a script that we've been using. And I'm also going to give this to you. It may not be in the landing page, so I'm going to ask Chet to make sure that we get this script on the landing page so when you download it, you get it. It's hey, Dale, this is Verl with First Team Realty. I'm just making my COVID-19 follow-up call. Now, I put the COVID-19 follow-up call at the beginning because people need to know I know what's going on in the world. I'm not calling you to try and make you buy something or sell something. I'm just making a COVID-19 follow-up call, and I wanted to touch base with you and your family and just see how you're doing. Dale, is there any way I can be damaged with this call?
No.
Yeah. And so, is there anything, we're here to help you if there's anything you need. Is there anything we can do for you right now? I mean, how are you doing on hand sanitizer and toilet paper? I learned a long time ago, Dale, you can't eat either one of those. When everybody else is buying hand sanitizer and toilet paper, I went to Costco and I bought steak and chicken and stuff that I could actually eat. The toilet paper, I mean, I'm good with that. I saw a post the other day on a Facebook page once on the different types of leaves you could use when you run out of toilet paper. And so being a scoutmaster for 15 years, I've got options. I'm just saying that, you know, I'm focused on filling the freezer with good things we can eat more so than the toilet paper. So I want to ask how they're doing, and then just listen. How you really doing? Be genuine about it. Remember, I launched at our leverage conference in January a concept called SBO, Serve Before Opportunity. And I've completely changed my dialogue on that to SRO, and that is serve regardless of opportunity. So whether or not they use you, whether or not you're going to sell them something, how about we just call and say what we can do? Let's help. I'm committed to this concept. It's not something I'm just talking about. If there's an opportunity I can do or something I can do to help you, I want to help you, reach out. And so let's serve regardless of opportunity. And then, Dale, this dialogue is really important. It starts with just for your information. I'm going to say just for your information, some of our clients have decided to step back right now, and we support them 100%. That removes all barriers for this being a sales call. Just for your information, some of our clients have decided to step back, and we are supporting them 100%, while others are proceeding as usual, and we're supporting them with the procedures we've put in place through safe and smart showings, virtual services, and more. So I let them know, no problem if you want to step back, but if you want to move forward, we have a plan for you. You like that?
This is so great. It's so great because there are a lot of people, when approached by any salesperson at all, a lot of people put their defenses up, and this is such a disarming script. You lead with the elephant in the room so that it's not just sitting there floating around in the back of their head. And then also saying, I just wanted to touch base with you and see how your family's doing. Some clients have decided to step back right now. You completely disarmed them. They can't possibly be thinking this person wants to sell me something right now.
And the goal, and I got to tell you, the goal isn't to disarm them so I can sell them. It's to disarm them so they're open to a conversation how I can serve.
Right.
And that it just changes. It has to come from a place that's authentic. It can't be sales pitch that's master mirrored. You have to genuinely want to make a difference. And you know, I believe that there's going to be plenty of opportunity, Dale, and there's going to be lots of opportunities coming in as a result of the coronavirus and the pent-up demand. And if we take care of people, I believe the opportunities will take care of themselves. They may not be today, but I'm a firm believer that the opportunities will present themselves to those who serve at a really high level. And I'm going to encourage everybody to do that. And so if you don't have phone numbers for your seller or buyer leads, turn that feature on in your lead generation system. So it's not really a lead unless you have a phone number. And so I would require a phone number for all leads. You know, I would rather have fewer leads with a phone number than a whole bunch of people I can't follow up with, Rita. And so almost every high volume lead generation gives you the ability to turn on or off the request a phone number. And so I would always do that. So we'll make sure you have the ability to get that. So that's my best answer for that question. Dale, would you answer that question any differently?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, if you already have people that you don't have phone numbers for, you can do something very similar in an email. And if you have BombBomb, even better. You shoot a little quick video and say, hey, this is my COVID-19 follow-up video to you. And the more personal you make that, the better. If you don't have a phone number, then still say their name in a video. Don't just send a mass email out because that doesn't show empathy, that doesn't show care, that doesn't show concern, that shows laziness. And so that's again, right. Yeah, like Verl said, turn on the phone number requirement. For those that you don't have phone numbers for that are old or there's a wrong number, send them a video.
You know, Dale, we launched April 1st, which is probably not the right time to do it, a program in our training center called RAMP. And RAMP stands for Rising Agent Mastery. And it's a 90-day program to take any agent, help them with all of the basic fundamentals to get them to closing an additional 2 transactions a month. In this RAMP program, we talk about lead generation, lead conversion, setting up your Realvolve correctly, all of those activities that you want to set up. And what I'd like to do is everybody who's on this call today, that's a guest of ours on the call, I'm going to give you a landing page at the end, and I'm going to give you access to our entire training center for the next 30 days. And so when you download the giveaways, we sell this for a couple $100 a month. I just want you all to have it. So now's a good time to go in and go online and go through the training, finding your big why, creating new business habits, establishing your new revised business plan for 2020, because it's going to be different because of the downtime that we've had. And I want you to go into the details. You'll not only see great video, but you're going to see great information. And Michelle, 100% it will work in Canada. And so I'll give you a download and you can turn that on. So number one, Dale, is I want everyone to go back and let's have a high level of execution on the basic fundamentals. Let's just be better at the basic things. Lead tracking, lead follow-up. I'm going to give you a couple other tips real quick before I go on to the second segment here, and that is inside of your database. I talked about the top 50. What about everybody else? Some of you have databases that have 1,000 people, 2,000 people. Well, I don't believe that you should have a single name in your database that isn't being called right now. I think that you should go through your entire database and you should have that same COVID-19 follow-up call. Hey, I'm just calling everybody and all of my friends, my past clients, just see how your family's doing, see if there's anything I can do to help. And while I have you on the phone, go through that FORD, family, how's work, what's happening, you guys going to be okay when you get back to work, what's happening for your plans for late this summer. We're pushing back some of the things we had planned in May. Now we're going to hopefully do them in June, so you can have those open conversations at how we're adjusting, and then follow up with your next scheduled touch. Put them on a follow-up plan. So go into your Realvolve and go into your FirePoint, go into your lead systems, and make sure that everybody is current. Like if you've got leads that haven't been followed up with for 6 months, there's no better time than right now to get on the phone. You got to have this. You got to have a strategy every day that you're going to spend time every day focused on your business. And I know it's hard. It's hard because you're being distracted by your stay-at-home kids that you're now homeschooling. How many of you? I don't know how many of you are going through ninth grade again for the second time with your ninth grader, or you're going through elementary school and you're wondering why these teachers are so good. You're really learning to respect what the teachers do in school because you have to do it with your own kids. I'm telling you, my wife the other day said to me, "Oh my gosh, I hated ninth grade then and I hate it worse now." I just thought that was funny because she's going through that with my 15-year-old as she's learning how to do math. She says, would it be mad if I emailed the math teacher and said, you have to give me at least one scenario in real life where I would use this math problem, and if you can't do that, we're not making my son do it? I said, yeah, so don't do that. That's probably not a good thing.
My older daughter is, they do math a little bit differently, the way they factor and things like that. And so I was having to read the textbook. And then my younger son, who's 6, he comes in and he goes, "Dad, do you because he's so used to me having to look things up for my older daughter. And my son comes in and he goes, "Dad, do you remember how to do 2 times 2? I go, "Yeah, son, I remember how to do 2 times 2.
With the new math? You have to do it with the new math?
Yeah.
All right, so number one is let's go back to basics. Let's make sure our database is current, that we're calling everybody, we're serving, not selling. Let's go in and make sure that we're tracking leads at a higher level, and let's put a lead system to follow up, and then create your list of top 50 people and follow the exact program that I lay out in the top 50 ebook. You're going to find that there's a tremendous amount of opportunity there, and you'll see that you'll close more transactions in 2020 as a result of going through these basic fundamentals. So let's go back to the basics. Dale, I learned this, and we coach so many of the top teams in the world, and they are amazing. They're amazing people that do just incredible amounts of business. And what I've learned is that the only difference between the average agents and those who are just like excelling at a super high level, it's not the quality of the person. I have some really high quality people that are getting average results, and I have real average people that are knocking it out of the park, doing 6-7 million a year in GCI. The difference is not the quality of the individual, but it's those basic fundamentals that they focus on. The exceptional focus on a high level of execution of the basic fundamentals. They do the things everybody else knows they should do, but they simply don't do it, or they barely do it well enough to get their commission at the closing table. And so let's have a higher level of execution of the basic fundamentals that everybody knows they should do and most don't. So the first thing is we're going to go back to basics. Let's get back to basics in a big way. The number 2 thing is I want you to maintain a good mental and physical health. And that means that you've got to listen to the right things. Listen to podcasts, books on tape, things that inspire you. I have a few books on my desk right now. It's funny, I've got like 3 of them sitting right here. I'll tell you what they are. My favorite to go to, that was going to show up, was Og Mandino's Greatest Salesman in the World. He says, "Today I'll be the master of my emotions." The next one says, I will laugh at the world. What a great time to do that. He says, with all the things going on, laughter is a gift that I have, and I got to use it up today or I can never get it back. And then I've been reading this book by Dr. Paul Jenkins. A lot of you probably never seen this one. It's called Pathological Positivity. Isn't that a great time to be reading a book like this? He's one of the speakers in my $1 Million Speakers group. And then I have Angela Duckworth's book on my desk called Grit, which is one of my favorite. And the whole topic is the power of passion and perseverance. Are those great titles for right now? And so those are just in arm's reach. This is what when I'm between calls or I'm doing something and I've got 10 minutes, I'm going to open up a book and I'm going to fill my mind with things that inspire me, that give me mental toughness and give me the ability to share positive messaging with the world. I think it's my responsibility to be a light and to share positive things. And you can't do that if you're just buying into all the negativity that's going on out there. And so when I say maintain a good mental health, I really mean that. I think the only thing that's more contagious than the coronavirus is a bad attitude. And if we are going to share a bad attitude, then you're going to infect a lot more people than you will by not wearing a mask or by going to the grocery store. So keep your bad attitude to yourself and focus on the positive things. And then the second thing is we got to do some things that make us feel good. You got to get out there and do a little workout. You got to do some things that get you physically feeling good. So for me, Dale, a lot of people have their weights. I was on a call the other day, and the guy on the call was he didn't even have a neck. He had no neck. He was just big. And then he had like these 50-pound dumbbells. And I'm talking to him on a webinar. He's like, please. And he's working out. I'm like, geez, man, that's unbelievable. I said, I'm working out too. And I got out my little hand gripper. And I said, yeah, working them out. I'm working out my forearms, Dale. I got to get these forearms so they're ripped. So I'm working so I can get up behind a boat when we're able to go boating again. And I can get up behind a boat and surf. And so I'm working on my physical well-being as well. Somebody messaged me the other day and said, Verl, I think you should forget about your forearms and focus on your abs. And I said, yeah, my abs they're a lost cause. I'm staying with my forearms and my fingers. I got a finger exerciser too. So have some fun. Don't take yourself too seriously, folks, but you got to get out and you got to exercise, go for a walk with the family, do things that release those endorphins that make you feel good. Somebody asked what that book was. It was Pathological Positivity. So pathological positivity. So get out there and let's do some good things. All right, the third thing, and this is a big deal. And then I'm going to share with you some messaging to the marketplace, but now is not the time to be average at anything. Nobody wants to do business with a real estate agent that doesn't know how to do a virtual listing appointment or a virtual showing appointment or a virtual walkthrough with a buyer. You have to become better at virtual real estate than anybody else in your market, period. You should be, and Zoom has incredible training on all the things you can do with Zoom. There's all kinds of resources out there. I created a sheet, all of the things a real estate agent needs to be able to do virtually. It's included in our downloads. But you've got to be able to, on the fly, Dale, when you're talking to a client and they say, how's the market? You should never answer with, oh, the market's great, I'm doing awesome, we sold 2 houses. Like that right there goes right into sales pitch mode. And the moment you lie, the moment you say it's great, the barrier comes up and you no longer have an opportunity to serve. And so when Dale says to me, bro, how's the market? I'm going to say, you know what, Dale, are you by your computer? What's the chance that someone's by their computer today when you get them on the phone?
99%.
99%. They say, yeah, I'm by my computer today. So rather than having me tell you how the market is, let me just pull up the MLS and I'll show you what's going on. And so I go live in my MLS, and on my home screen, it shows what's sold in the last 7 days, how many houses listed in the last 7 days. In markets where real estate is not an essential service and they're on total lockdown, I did a call yesterday with that group, and I said, okay, pull up your MLS. And he says, well, no one's doing anything. I said, great, prove it. I'm kind of in a prove it mode right now. Prove to me that you can do it. Prove to me you can use Zoom. Prove to me that no one's selling anything. He pulled it up. Guess how many houses in the last 7 days? 2,300 had listed. Guess how many had sold? 2,200. Guess how many had a price reduction? 806. How many went under contract? 800. In the last 7 days, there was lots of transactions happening, but none of them were happening by this guy because his belief system was not consistent with what was going on in the world. So we have to be the masters of virtual real estate and answer questions with data, not with opinion. Nobody cares what your opinion is. They care that you're an expert and you have the ability to deliver expert information that makes them feel good about holding off or feel good about moving forward. Your job is not to tell them what they should do. It's just to give them information so they can make their own decision on what's best for their family and then create a safe environment for them to be able to do that. And so the other thing with virtual real estate is you've got to get up every day, and I need you to dress for success. I mean, you've got to get up and you've got to look good, at least from the waist up, because you never know when you're going to say, are you by your computer? Turn it on. Now, if I'm doing a conference call, Dale, and I can't see your face, I can't read your body language, I don't know if you have an emotional connection to something I'm saying. You know, when I was talking about my wife going through school again with my 9th grader, did you see Dale's body language? He lit up. He was like, oh, I know. My kid asked me if I could do 2 times 2. Like there was an emotional response to a communication that happened that you don't get when you're on the phone. And so you always want to use video because I can see you. You know, we can't be, just because we're physically distant doesn't mean we have to avoid social connection. So I believe that we should be physically distancing but socially connecting on Zoom. So I want to socially connect with people. My brother-in-law Blair had his 60th birthday on April Fool's. And so I have 6 brothers and sisters, and we all have spouses and kids. We got everybody on a Zoom call because Blair lives in Arizona and I'm in Utah. We got people in Texas. We all got on a Zoom call, and we surprised him on a Zoom call and wished him a happy birthday, all the grandkids and the cousins and the nephews. And it was this big, massive Zoom call with everybody on video, and it was an incredible opportunity for us to reconnect as a family. That ability happens when you understand and know how to use your virtual technology. But when you can't use your virtual technology, you miss the opportunities you have to socially connect with people. So I encourage you to do that. So dress for success, at least from the waist up. And people want to know, well, are you wearing shorts? And the answer is, yes, I am. And Ruby, we'll make sure in the download of this that you'll be able to get you'll get a copy of the presentation as well. So I want to make sure you're going to get that. Okay. So my 4th thing is be the light in dark places. I love the quote that says, the light always shines brighter in a dark room. And that really is true. And so you can choose who you want to be. I get up every morning, Dale, and I ask myself this question. All right, Big V, what can you control today? Isn't that a great question? What do you have the ability to control? I can control whether or not I work out. I can control what I have for breakfast. I can control whether I greet my kids with a good morning and a hug and a kiss. I can control whether or not I want to shed happiness and laughter. I can control whether or not I can't stay safe, and if I take activities and precautions to make sure that my family is safe. I can control a lot. I can control whether or not I prospect. I can control how I communicate to clients. I can control my operational excellence in my business. I can control the basic fundamentals. What I can't control is COVID-19. I can't control who's getting it. I can't control who's not getting it. I can't control what's going on in New York or in Louisiana, but my heart and my prayers are certainly with everybody that's dealing with this horrible virus, and I hope that it passes by them quickly. I can't control it, but I am aware of it, and I certainly want to remember and pray for the people that are struggling. But for me, I choose to be happy, and I make that because I can control that. I want you to make that same choice every morning when you get up. What can I control? What can I not control? And let's focus on the things you can control, and that's to share happiness. Now, I'd like to spend the next few minutes, if I could, Dale, and I'm going to take you through a few charts and graphs that are helpful in spreading a positive message. So when people want to know what's going on with interest rates or what's happened as a result of different pandemics in the past, I cannot predict what's going to happen in the future. But what I can tell you is that we have data that tells us what's happened in the past. So with major catastrophic events, we had 9/11, we had the SARS virus, we had the H1N1, the swine flu, and the avian flu. We had the stock market crash and the real estate crash. Well, what happened to interest rates after each of these major events? So after each of the major events, every time we had a major crisis, we had 9/11, we had SARS, then we had the H1N1 and the real estate crash. After every single announcement, we had massive drop in interest rates. Where are rates today? Are they higher or lower? They're lower. It's just they just keep dropping, and they drop because, you know, whether you love Donald Trump or you hate Donald Trump, I don't care. But here's what I do know about Donald Trump. I know that there has never been another president that I can remember in my lifetime that is more focused on the economy. He is obsessed and believes that his value will be measured, his legacy will be measured on the success or failure of the economy. And so everything he does, all the decisions he makes, he's trying to create an economy that is strong, so that in the next election or when he exits office, he can say, look what I did for the economy. And so, like him or hate him, I don't care, but I do know that we have a president today that is focused on making sure that our economy is strong. You know, the other thing that I think is fascinating, if you look at what happened after all the major pandemics and epidemic events, after 9/11, look what happened to housing sales, Dale. Boom,
Yep.
Big increase. After SARS, another big increase. Now, that big increase in 4, 5, 6, and 7 was artificially inflated because of the money that was available to loan, and I have another chart on that. And so we saw a correction in the market that happened, but after H1N1, there was a little boom right there, right after it, and then consistently since the last epidemic, we've had consistent home sales increase. So it's really interesting that there was only a 3.5% decline during H1N1, but then the rest of the time we've had consistent home increase. So what can you take from this information? You can say that after almost every pandemic or major event, you see a little bit of a dip, but then house values continue to go up, and so do the number of houses that get sold. You know, this is kind of interesting, and this is the median house sales. Oh, this is the median price of existing home sales. So look what happened in 01 after 9/11 to house values. Boom, people wanted to be homeowners again. Look what happened in 2011 after the H1N1 dip. We had a massive increase in house values. And so it's really interesting to watch how after each of these pandemics, we've always gone up in value. And so while we may see a little bit of a dip, it's okay, because housing over time always goes up. And when you have the information that you can share with your clients, it gives them the opportunity to make their own decision. This shows you what the stock market reaction's been during previous viruses. And it shows you this, the S&P 500 change. During SARS, it dropped 12.8% in a 38-day period. The avian flu, 6.9% in 141 days. The MERS was 43 days at a negative 7.3%. Ebola, 23 days at 5.8%. And the Zika virus was a big one, 66 consecutive days at a 12.9% drop. But what happened after all of those is they all rebounded. So it shows that there's a beginning and end of the decline. And it's all just a matter of days and how many days the stock market is in a tough situation. I love this chart right here, because this really explains why we're in a better position today, and we're in a better position to not have the number of foreclosures that we had in the past. So the last time the housing market crashed, it was because there was $900 billion of venture capital available for people to borrow money on. Anybody could buy a house if they could fog a mirror. You didn't even have to have a job. You just had to say you had a job, and you had to state whatever your income was. And at that time, everybody was loaning because they wanted to be in real estate. Well, as a result of that, house values became overinflated, and people couldn't really afford the housing they were in, and so the correction happened. If you look at where we have been since 2009, there's a lot less money that's at play available to homeowners to borrow. And because they're being more particular who gets in a home, people that are in their homes deserve to be there, and they qualify to be there. And so when something major happens, it's a lower likelihood that we're going to see a major crash, because they have the staying power to be in their homes. So it's a really interesting chart. This one here shows that the percent of the median income needed to purchase a home in 2006 was 25.4%. People were using all of their available capital to be able to get into a house. Well, today, they're only using 15.5%, which means they can go a couple months without making a payment. And now all the mortgage companies have given relief and a forbearance that allows them to go and not make a payment for 30, 60, 90 days, and then have a negotiation that adds that on to the end of the loan. So they're not being penalized by not making a payment today. And so all of these indicators tell us that there's a lower likelihood that we're going to have this massive real estate crash that we had back in 06, 07. And I think that's a real positive thing if you look at what's happening and why we are where we are. So for me, what this does is this gives me confidence. And I don't know, how many of you have sellers or buyers that it would be valuable to share this information with them? Like, would you like these charts to be able to share? They all come from like Zillow and NAR and credible sources. I don't make any of this stuff up. Keeping Current Matters is a phenomenal resource to get a lot of this great information. So I'll make sure, Patty, that we give this to you. So it'll be a part of the downloads, and you can have these charts. And Dale, let's have a little dialogue for just a minute. But, you know, in 2007, there were 8 months of inventory. 8 months of inventory. That makes it a buyer's market. Sellers, your house is sit on the market for 8 months. Today, there's only 3 months worth of inventory. So what does that make the market today?
It's more of a seller's market.
That's right. And so when a seller wants to know, is now a good time to put your house on the market, don't say, well, yes, it is. I would do it, because you sound like a salesperson. Say, let me share what the National Association of Realtors says. National Association of Realtors says that today nationwide there's 3.1 months of inventory on the market, which means there's more buyers on the market than there is inventory. And because a lot of people have limited the showing and access to their home, there's even fewer than that. And so when you put your house on the market and you're available for safe showing, it's creating a frenzy around your property. We had a house go on the market in New York last week, Dale, that did their first virtual open house with 30 virtual visitors walking through the open house in a Matterport environment where the agent walked them through the house, demonstrated everything in open. They could ask questions. They got multiple offers, put it under contract with the property, having not ever been walked through. And so we're doing things differently today, and I think it's fascinating in areas where we can't get out and do real estate. This is another, just a fascinating, for me, I think this is fascinating. And by the way, folks, as I'm going through this data and we're talking about the 4 things, I would like you to be thinking about the questions that you would like to ask either me or Dale about what you can do differently, or what you can do to stimulate the market, or what you can do to have, success. We're experts in working with individual real estate agents, teams, and brokers, and we help a lot of these 7-figure teams right now. And so if you have questions, please ask them in the chat bar or in the question box, and we'll get to questions in just a minute. So this is really interesting, and this shows, Dale, the 6 years leading up to the housing crash. And so look at the house appreciation in the 6 years leading up to the crash: 8.6, 8.5, 8.7, 12.5, 11.4. The house values were going up faster than people's incomes were going up, and so people weren't able to stay in the houses that they were getting into because their wages didn't go up with the increase in housing. They couldn't sell their house and buy another one because the other house was overinflated by 22% in 2 years. Well, over the last 6 years, look at the steady 4 to 5% appreciation that we've had, just consistent market growth that's been based on the demand and the supply. And so it's not overinflated, which is another great indicator that we're not going to have this massive downturn. So this is another great chart that's from Freddie Mac that shows how much of people's equity was being used in 2005, 6, and 7. And so if you owned a home, Dale, and you wanted to take money out of your house, there was so much illegal stuff going on. People were buying new houses, and they were paying $300,000 for them, and then they were getting a second mortgage right after they closed for $400,000, taking $100,000 equity out, and then buying another new construction. And all of these people went out of business, and they created all kinds of problems. And so when you look right here, in 2005, there was $263 billion in equity taken out of people's houses. 2006, 321, 2000, 240. And now look at the last 3 years. In the last 3 years, it's 71 billion, 87, 74. People are taking equity out of their home in just a small enough amount to be able to do what they need to based on the real valuation. They're not using overinflated values, so people aren't buried in their properties, which is another great indicator that we're not headed for this big, massive market crash. You know, I think that there's so much anxiety and so much frustration that everybody's exuding. When you start paying attention to what's going on, you can start having really good conversations. And so I love Amanda's question. Amanda says, what's the best way to get up to speed quickly on using Zoom and BombBomb? Well, the first thing is to just get it. You know, just go in and subscribe to their account. With Zoom, I recommend you buy a professional account because it gives you the ability to do there's additional features that we use all the time. And then Zoom has an incredible library of videos on how to use Zoom and how to do it right. we've also created a video on how to do Zoom and a checklist of the things that you should be able to do, and we'll make that available in your downloads as well. And then as far as bomb goes, Dale, you're kind of a bomb expert. What would you recommend for Amanda and others that want to get up to speed on that cool technology?
Yeah, I mean, BombBomb also has really great training. They have some fantastic training all around getting over your fear of video. You can access that kind of stuff right from their homepage and on their blog. But the thing that I recommend, I worked at BombBomb. I started with them really early on, and it simply comes down to looking at the camera and smiling, and that's basically it. You hit a record button, you smile, you look at the camera, and you talk. And if you're doing that, your videos are going to come out looking amazing. Even if you don't think they look amazing, the people that get them are going to love it.
The big thing I've learned with video, and we've been doing virtual presentations and Zoom meetings for years. Everybody is learning to do it for the first time right now, but this is the way we communicate. Our company is virtual. I've got 60 coaches all over the United States and Canada. Every Friday we're on a big Zoom call and we're doing coach training, just like you're seeing right here. And so what I've learned is that authenticity is more important than staging. And so, if you just look at my backdrop right here, so I've staged my backdrop. So I've got my big logo on the wall. I have my plant right here because it gives some texture to it. These are our company core values that are sitting right here that I always have on my desk. I'm in a small room, but I've staged the backdrop so that when I have a conversations with someone, it looks like I'm in a professional environment. And you can do that anywhere. So just take a minute and think about what does it look like and stage it. But don't worry about how you look as much. Just worry that you're dressed for success. Put a nice blouse on or put a dress shirt on. Don't wear the T-shirt that has the saggy collar that makes you look like you slept in it. I was on a webinar the other day, Dale, and you'll laugh at this, but a gal got on the call, and I was making everybody get on video. I said, you got to get on video. I don't want you on the call. Matter of fact, if you don't have video, I'm going to turn you off. So she gets on, and she's in bed, literally in bed with the sheets folded up to her neck with her laptop on her knees, shooting a picture of bed. I'm like, okay, well, maybe you can go off video. Let's go and turn that video off. I don't want to know. Get up. Get up, dress for success, take a shower, get ready to be able to meet with someone. Let's have some fun. All right, let's have some fun with this. All right, so this is that one. So I've got a couple more charts that I'll share with you, and then I'll open it up to you can just hammer us with questions. So this is what's happened to the market that happens right before the World Health Organization makes an announcement. And so the SARS, the market recovered 96% in the 6 months after the announcement. The average of the 6 pandemics since 2003, the market has recovered 144% in the 6 months after the World Health Organization announced that there was going to be a pandemic. And so that's, like I said, I can't predict the future. All I can tell you is that what we learned from the past over the last 6 major pandemics is the market has rebounded 144%. And so now might be a good time to be investing. I'm not an investment counselor, but maybe you ought to be looking and talking to your investment counselor about, what are the stocks that always came back during the other pandemics, and what are the ones that you should be looking at. This is what happened to the S&P, the mortgage crash. There was a 50% stock market crash, but the home depreciation wasn't anywhere near what the stock market was. And so just because there's a recession doesn't mean there's going to be a housing crisis. This one shows you in the dot-com crash in 9/11, the S&P dropped 45%. But we actually, in 2000, 2001, and 2002, had an 8.6, 6.6, and 8.5 appreciation in home values. So recession happened, but house values continue to go up because of supply and demand. We're a growing population. As the population grows, it puts more pressure on housing. To create more housing, people downsize, upsize, move their families. There's all these things that are happening, and so you can't fake the supply and demand scenario that's out there. We have an under amount of supply. So recession, which everybody is talking about, is almost inevitable. With the 10 million plus people that are out of jobs, there's going to be a recession. But that does not mean that we're going to have a housing crisis. And so let's pay attention to what's going on with housing so that we can advise our clients to carefully move forward based on the life events that are happening around them that create this need to move. We can't control the life events. All we control is how we message to those life events. And if they know they're talking to someone who's a true expert in real estate, they are going to have a higher level of confidence in whatever their decision is. So just slow down. Don't be a naysayer. Don't spread bad news. Pay attention to what's going on. And, this is kind of interesting. I love this. Goldman Sachs just put this out on 3/17 that they believe that quarter one was going to be a 0.2% GDP forecast below what they projected. Quarter two is going to be 5% below, but in quarters 3 and 4, we were going to have increases that would make up for quarter two. And so I love that the Goldman Sachs and the smartest people believe that we're going to have real strong earnings going into the third and fourth quarter. And, based on that information, it makes me feel like we're headed in the right direction. We don't expect a repeat of the severe recession in 08 and 09 because of the virus. And oil shocks are not endemic to the financial system, but are rather external. Once the virus infection rate peaks, we expect a recovery to gain more momentum into the final quarter of the year, and that's Wells Fargo Investment Institute. And so I'm paying attention, very close attention to what the experts are saying, and I want to share that out. I want to share that with people. During the last 5 recessions, this was the home price change. And so you notice that there's a recession that drops, house values go up, and it happens all the time. Go look at Keeping Current Matters and watch what happens after this next one, because I think you're going to find that we're going to continue to see housing go up. A lot of people are wondering, based on all of the information that's out there, are we going to see a huge number of foreclosures? Dale, is now the time to really become an expert in foreclosures and distressed real estate? I think you should pay attention to it, but based on what's happening with mortgage rates and the equity people have in their homes, it's not likely that we're going to see this mass amount of people walking away from their homes. And the reason is because they have equity. They have equity in their homes. They're not using all their equity, and they can afford to be in them. So when people don't have any equity and they can't afford to be in it, they just walked away. And they took the cash for keys so they could go put a rent down somewhere else and would just exit their properties. And we're not seeing that today. A lot of people want to know the answer to this question.
Verl, when's the last time in our lives that we've seen mortgage companies en masse allowing people to skip payments? That's the other thing.
I can't remember any time.
They're allowing people to skip payments. People have more equity than they have in the past. So yeah.
Nobody wins in a foreclosure world except investors, including the banks. So this is really interesting. A lot of agents don't know how to explain why interest rates are at 0%. How come mortgage rates aren't at 0%? And they don't understand the correlation between interest rates and where the mortgage rates are. And so let me just explain this chart to you. The way this chart shows you, the yellow line on the bottom is the federal fund rate. So when the Fed comes out and announces a new rate, that's what the rate is. The gray line right above that is the 10-year Treasury yield. The 10-year Treasury yield is what mortgage rates are based on. If you look at the orange line, that's the 15-year mortgage rate, and you look at the blue line, that's the 30-year mortgage rate. It almost follows exactly what the 10-year Treasury yield is. So the 10-year Treasury yield is what people can borrow the money at, and they can actually get it, and then there's a little bit of margin in it for the mortgage company because they have to make profit on the mortgage. So they're just a little bit above where those 10-year Treasury yields are. And so all of you that are asking about the copies of the charts, yes, you'll get a copy of my full presentation, and I'll give you a landing page at the end where you can go and download a lot of my charts and the dialogue and access to my training center for the next 30 days for free. And so this is just a really good indicator to show people what's happening with interest rates. I think they're declining and they're going to continue to decline. When they dropped interest rates to about 0, then all of a sudden there was this massive overload on the system because everybody wanted to refinance their properties at 2.75 or 2.9%. And so they raised rates again to take the pressure off the mortgage companies to handle all the refis that had locked. And so watch the mortgage rates daily to see what's going on and pay attention to that 10-year Treasury yield. This is just a closer view of what's happening right now with the interest rates and where they are in relationship to the yield. Do you like this stuff, Dale? This is fascinating data, isn't it?
I eat that stuff up. Yeah, and it's fascinating too that even though sometimes the mortgage rates will go up for a month or for a few weeks after some crisis like this, they'll follow the 10-year Treasury yield. I mean, they are going to follow it. And that's what you can go to the bank with that. You can tell your clients that, It might lag a tiny bit, but it's going to follow it.
Absolutely. So I promised everybody that I would give you a 30-day plan, and so we created for all of our coaching clients across the country a 30-day action plan of what I want you to do during the next 30 days. You need to be really focused and you need to block time. And so this is your 30-day action plan of all the things that I'd like you to do and go through. I want you to do what you're comfortable with, but you need to have daily huddles with your team. You need to have accountability. You need to actually practice your virtual presentations. Go through and follow the 30-day action plan. This is the chart that I'm going to make available to all you, which is Mastering Technology in a Virtual Market, which is the list of the things that I would like everybody to become experts in and to be able to become an expert in. And then I told everybody they could have access to my RAMP program, which is our Rising Agent Mastery. It's actually, there's a Buyer Agent Mastery program, a Listing Agent Mastery, and admin training. It's a phenomenal training center that I'm going to give to everybody. It becomes available to all of you. And I'm going to kind of wrap this up by sharing with you a quote, and then I'm going to open up the call. I know there's a few questions on the board right here, and then I'm going to give you a landing page where you can go and download all this information that I've shared. First of all, has this been a good call for everybody? Have you enjoyed being here? I certainly appreciate that you're all here, that you've taken time out of your busy days to be part of the webinar. I really appreciate that. Liliana, I'm not going to send you a copy, but you can download a copy of everything. I just want to make sure that you have it available to you. And Dale, this is my parting quote, and that is, in the absence of leadership, the world tends to believe the worst in negative situations. And so it's our responsibility for us as leaders in our homes, leaders on our teams, leaders in our community, leaders with our clients, to be the lights that shine. And lights are most beautiful when surrounded in darkness, by Jason Hole, and I can't agree with him more. I believe that that's absolutely true, and you can choose to be that light. To download everything that I've given for you today, including access to our training center, I want you to go to workmansuccess.com/30 days. You'll get the 30-day action plan, my charts and graphs, a copy of today's presentation, the Ford dialogue, the 8651, and then you'll need to make available to them in a follow-up email the scripts for working with COVID buyers and sellers follow-up scripts, and also access to the training center. And that'll give you everything you need on this download. So you just download this page right here. So let me go on. Let's just answer a couple of questions. So I have one question from Lisa. Lisa wanted to know if I had to choose 3 of the charts with a buyer or seller to convince them that the market will be attractive once COVID is over, what would they be? My answer to you is it depends on what their genuine concern is. Are they concerned about what's going on with appreciation? I mean, if a seller's thinking about selling today and I've got less than 3 months inventory, it's a seller's market. And so if I would communicate to them the slide that shows it's a seller's market and that there's limited inventory, which means that there's more buyers. And interest rates are so low, which increases the pool of buyers that can qualify for homes in higher price ranges. So there's more people that can buy more house because of a combination of those things. So those would be the 2 that I choose if I was dealing with a seller. I would also share any of the historical data. I think those are really good. Those are good charts. I'm going to give them all to you and just go through and listen to this video again and how I explain them. So Tina has a question. She says, in New York, we're in a state of emergency and we're not allowed to cold call. A lot of the contacts in my database are very old. Are they considered cold calls? The answer is absolutely no. It's only a cold call if they've never gone in and given you an information exchange. It's also, people aren't going to think you're cold calling them if you're calling them to serve. They're only going to think you're cold calling them if you're calling them to sell. And so, Tina, when you make the phone call, you say, this is Tina with RE/MAX, or this is Tina with Century 21, or this is Tina with ABC Real Estate. I'm just calling. I'm doing a COVID-19 follow-up call to everybody that's inquired on a property just to see how you're doing. How's your family? Are you guys okay? Is there anything we can do? We're all kind of sequestered. I've been reading a couple books that there's a guy by the name of Jason Hewlett who is launching a 30-day video series on how to keep the promises you make to your family and to your work when working from home. And it's a phenomenal series of videos that he's giving away free. Call your clients up and say, hey, I found this Jason Hewlett that has great ideas of things you can do with your family and home so that you become a promise keeper instead of a promise breaker with your family and with your boss. So I thought I might share it with you. Call them and give them something of value. And if you give them something of value, they'll never turn you in for cold calling. You know, I can't imagine doing a cold call right now. every call I have is, how can I help? And I mean it. And so if you have that attitude, Tina, I think you're going to find that's going to be great. Okay, Liliana, I hope you got the download page and know you know how to download it. We talked about the 3 charts. Any other questions for the group? Oh, here's a couple of them. Okay, Jose wants to know if you pull your historical charts from certain websites. The answer is yes. I pull them from tons of sites. I pull them from Keeping Current Matters, from NAR. I watch webinars by brokers and owners and industry experts. When Lawrence Yun or any of our chief economists are doing a webinar, I want to pay attention to it. There's a tremendous amount of data out there. I've created a coronavirus file that is chock full of all of the data that I use to be able to share with you. And so the answer is, I want you to pull charts from everywhere you can get them, because there's no one place that's the best. It's all of those places. So thank you for your question. I appreciate that. You're welcome, Tina, for the answers to your questions. Will it work in Canada? Yes, the training center does. I hope you heard me okay. Dale, any parting thoughts for the audience today? I appreciate you inviting me to this call. I hope it's been valuable for our mutual clients. And I want you all to know, if there's anything I can do for any of you, please reach out. We're doing COVID-19 strategy sessions instead of coaching sales calls. And our team has been trained to help and evaluate where you are in your business and help give you a very specific strategy. So if you'd like a COVID-19 strategy, just reply after you download your stuff, and we're happy to just look at your business and see if there's an opportunity for us to help you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Verl. I mean, there is a ton of great stuff that you shared with us for absolutely free. Just go to workmansuccess.com/30 days, download all of that stuff. Definitely things you can be using today on phone calls, tomorrow on phone calls. And I appreciate everything you shared. And I'm changing a couple of things for myself too. I did start running twice a day since we've been, I took my workouts from once a day to twice a day. I noticed I'm sitting around a lot more, and so I have to just get up and move around a lot more. And then also not being afraid to reach out to people because we are a little bit starved for attention, some of us. So reaching out, a lot of the conversations I'm having with people right now are extremely positive. So we can't lie to ourselves and tell us that we don't want to reach out to people because it's going to be a cold call or going to be a sales call or whatever. Reach out to people and ask them how you can help. I absolutely love that script that you shared. So thank you so much, Verl. We appreciate it. And please feel free to email us. If you have questions, you can always just email info@realvolve.com. We'll make sure to route any questions. And Verl, is there an email address that they can, get more information from you guys, or if they have any particular questions about this stuff, where can they reach out?
You know what, just download my giveaways at workmansuccess.com/30 days. We'll have your contact information. You'll get emails from us. We'll stay in touch with you. Perfect. And let us know if we can help. Thanks, Dale. Appreciate all you do.
Thanks, Verl. Bye, everybody.